what they seem to have done is they've like taken bits and pieces of different Hollywood movies and just put them together, like without really knowing how a story really works.
Hi, this is Vernon and this is Kit, and this is our review for Police Evo 2.
It's Malaysian cops, buddy cop movie, but let Vernon fill you in. What did we just watch?
What did we just watch indeed? I think this is very charitably, I would call this Die Hard on a Malaysian resort island.
Hey, that's my line.
Stole it.
They kind of mix in Bad Boys too a bit, maybe.
But basically, instead of being a straight up police film or police procedure film, this is basically an action film with police personnel playing the main roles. Is it?
Yeah, it was made, from the credits you can see it was made with cooperation of the Royal Malaysian Police, and unfortunately it shows because actually story-wise it's actually the military should have been involved.
The military were involved, but they weren't involved in a meaningful way.
Overall, this is a 2-hour movie.
2 hour plus. It's about 2:15 or 2:10.
The first 30 minutes is more like police work. It's the setup for the whole story.
Basically, this is a narcotic squad that somehow finds itself in a hostage situation because Malaysian Hans Gruber takes control of a village on an island after the second act.
Yeah, and it's not a normal hostage situation where the police are involved because they've got like 200 hostages, they've got terrorists armed with automatic weapons.
Supplied from the United States Army.
So really the military should get involved.
The military are called in, but strangely enough, or for plot reasons, or storyline reasons, the police forces who are on the island undercover, or rather on the recce mission, actually call the shots. Very weird.
No, that's okay. The thing is,
they order the military personnel around.
It's like at the end they're shooting it out with the terrorists, and they say help is on the way, but it'll take 30 minutes to arrive. But yeah, that's because they're just sending them in by boat. They should have sent in helicopters. They would have been there in like 5 minutes.
Air power! Ladies and gentlemen, air power. Do not forget air power.
But the film was not made with the cooperation of the Malaysian Air Force or Army, so they didn't have helicopters. I think the police should have helicopters too, but maybe they just didn't get permission. I don't know. So yeah, that's one of like the unbelievable parts of the story.
Yeah, so it's partially well, it starts off with an undercover police procedural and then segues into Die Hard.
Yeah, the thing is, it's really mixed because it starts off with this a shootout.
But it establishes a genre that, and then ditches that genre for a totally different one.
The thing is, it looked like they were in a war zone. The way it was shot, the weapons they were using,
the amount of explosives and ammunition, it looked like it could have supplied an entire military conflict rather than just a terrorist cell.
I thought it was a battlefield, but
it was shot like a battlefield, I think.
Yeah, but it's just a police shootout in Malaysia, so.
Maybe police shootouts in Malaysia are different. Okay. Being a Malaysian, am I right or am I very wrong?
You're very wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's, and character-wise, there are too many characters that they set up little backstories for them that didn't go anywhere. So
we have to remember that this is a sequel to Police Evo 1, and which actually
neither of us have watched the first movie.
We'll edit off the backstretch. Neither of us have watched the first movie, but I'm told Police Evo 1 was a different genre altogether.
Oh?
It was a police buddy cop comedy.
Comedy?
Yeah.
Okay.
More like another 48 hours.
Okay.
Along those lines.
Okay.
So I thought, well, it's interesting you turned it into a straight up action film. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and the two partners were like separated for most of the movie, so there's not much interaction between them.
If you've missed the first movie, you wouldn't actually know they are buddies
Yeah.
with a history behind them.
I didn't know until the end of the movie.
Where they have some strange dialogue going on that make you go,
Yeah, and that strange dialogue it's like a 5-minute scene while they're rushing to rescue hostages, and this guy stops and
has a 5-minute conversation. I mean, for a film that up till then had 20 minutes of straight action, breaking for a 5-minute character building dialogue.
I mean, technically, the guy should have said, okay, my partner has gone nuts. I don't have the time. I'll just leave him here. I can't talk sense to him. I'll just go ahead and rescue the hostages. You know, that's the proper thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think the film suffers from what we call emerging film industry problem, which is most emerging film industries start off with action films because they are the easiest to do, and it takes actual effort. It builds it sort of builds the know-how of filmmaking.
No, okay.
Practical effects, action, choreography.
Okay.
You've got to learn how to shoot an action scene, handle believable firearms and all that.
No, all that's fine. The production values are actually very good. Technically, the Malaysian
it's
film
very
industry is good.
It
It's
is
just
very
story-wise.
It's
Story-wise
just story-wise, they've forgotten that instead of it.
They never knew it. What they seem to have done is they've like taken bits and pieces of different Hollywood movies and just put them together, like without really knowing how a story really works.
No, instead of knowing what story made which American action or cop film work. And it's not because there were action scenes, but what you see is this phenomenon where there's just tons and tons and tons of action sequences piled on one after another just to show that, look, we are really competent, we know how to do this, we know how to do everything except tell a story.
I didn't see any at the credits. I don't remember seeing any like
Script writer?
military advisors. I think they were quite a lot of stuff. I mean, technically,
it made no sense. It made no sense.
There was once where one of the soldiers he's injured. He's against the wall, and then the bad guys come in from both sides at both ends of the wall, and they shoot at him, which means that they will be shooting at each other.
If he just ducked, yes. It's the Irish firing squad problem.
But it wasn't a problem in the movie. I mean, in the movie, the bad guys managed to kill him, you know, even though they were shooting at each other. So a lot of stuff like that. It just doesn't look right at all.
That's beside the mysterious radar mounted on a rooftop that can detect any movement, including ground troops.
Yeah, okay. So,
I'm not a military buff, but you tell me what's wrong with it.
Okay, so they had this some super duper portable American radar which they put on the island so they could
it's
see.
It's the size of this actually.
Which might work.
It looks like a satellite dish that used to watch TV on.
But okay, so they can see anybody approaching the island even at night.
From 10 kilometers away!
It's possible, it's possible. So the good guys, they send in this team of like 10 Army Special Forces guys in an inflatable rubber boat, and they come in, and
that's after the police are already on the island accidentally. Nobody knows that.
So
yeah.
What you would do is you would just shoot the boat when they're all there. You don't wait until they go into the village where they've got cover from all the houses and stuff, and then only get into a firefight with them.
Yeah.
The special forces get creamed, and then the survivors, like 4 guys or something, they hook up with 2 of the policemen, and they withdraw. And then they get orders from headquarters to stand down, wait for another attack to come, and they just sit there. In fact, they stand where they could be seen. They stand around and talk
in a forest, but still, yeah, it's completely untactical. And they should know better.
And they should be keeping a lookout. They should be the eyes for the oncoming guys. Instead, they're just like sitting down there doing nothing. You know? They are a recon team. You should be reconning, even though you've had your ass handed to you. You can still do some recon.
Yeah, I mean, for a recon team, 10 guys seems a bit too much.
No, and they weren't really reconning. They came in guns blazing. You know, it's like what?
Yeah, you can see that this was written by people who watch quite a lot, who are fans of American police action films from the 90s.
And okay, I'm going to jump a lot here because it's really hard to put a coherent whole in it. But things like
Magic of editing.
things like okay, the bad guy threatens to kill the hostages unless the injured leader is delivered to them on the island. So at first they refuse, but then they start killing hostages, and they say, yeah, okay, we'll send them. So when they're sending them in, then the surviving policemen radio back to headquarters and say, hey, you know, we want to go and rescue the hostages, even though it's risky and all that. Why? Because they're not shooting the hostages anymore. They're waiting for their leader to come. The time to attack is when they're shooting the hostages. So actually, I think it's standard for this kind of situation. Once you start shooting hostages, that's it. You move in straight away. And they didn't. It's only when they
it's
stopped.
just very odd. You get a sense that a lot of the weird decisions by the decision makers, the decision making characters in this movie, are just so weird only because they are there to serve certain plot points.
Yeah, it's there to move the action along, but tactically, story-wise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So,
so for me, very well done action movie. I mean, technically speaking, it's
the fight scenes were confusing because they didn't keep like consistent direction of where the people were. So
the blocking of the action scenes was weird. I agree with you. The blocking was weird. It's one of those 101 things they should have gotten right.
And they're shooting at each other from like 50, 100 meters away in these little wooden village houses, and they're not taking any cover. The bullets have gone right through the walls. But they don't care, they're just shooting through the windows, you know, and it starts off with the bad guys rounding up the villagers by using tear gas, which doesn't make sense. You just disperse them because they'll be so afraid of the tear gas that they'll be so blinded by it, they'll just be running away. You don't do that.
It didn't make any sense because it says tear gas, but they don't behave as if they've been hit by tear gas.
Yeah, because tear gas does not knock you unconscious. It makes you choke. It makes your eyes water. So these guys were the undercover policewoman was knocked unconscious by the tear gas. This is a guess. I'm like 90% sure, not 100. But the filters on the gas mask, those are not chemical filters. It would not work against tear gas. These are like dust filters. These are like cloth dust filters. These are not the carbon, the activated carbon filters. It's like almost every 5-10 minutes, there's like something really wrong there. It just throws you out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the action shooting is adequate. It is competent, but
the lighting, the camera work is okay.
Choreography is mostly okay. It's these little details that don't make any sense.
Yeah, there are lots more that I just can't remember right.
For a 2-hour and 15-minute film, there's a lot of it.
The last 30 or 45 minutes was too long. The action sequence was too long.
I think they were aiming for one of those Hollywood big budget movies where the last 40 minutes is just straight up action.
It's a common problem. You see that in a lot of Asian movies, China.
It didn't work in Hollywood. It wouldn't work here as well.
Like even the old Hong Kong martial arts movies, the fight sequences are too long. It's the same thing here. So you after a while you get numb to it, and it gets a bit boring because it's just bang 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 all the time. There's a bit of a subtlety here in terms of the religious aspect.
By which you mean we do not mean to offend anyone. And YouTube, please do not take us off the air.
Okay. Okay. Malaysia is Islamic nation. The bad guy is
Technically, it's a secular nation, is it?
no.
Constitutionally?
I don't know, but Islam is the official religion.
Ah, I see. Yes.
The thing is, okay, so they kind of made the bad guys like a standard terrorist, Islamic terrorist bad guy, but
He's kind of persuasive because you know.
they put clues there that he's not like a real proper Muslim. He does this kind of like black,
Strange ritual.
yeah. So that's black magic. That's not Islam. So I think that's their signal that this is not a real Muslim.
He's not kosher.
And the characters didn't work. They had this undercover police woman from Indonesia, and her role was like totally
Superfluous.
unnecessary. You could have taken her out. You know, it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, her character did not have a function in the film,
And-
except to give, you know, one female character
but
diversity.
she's very
She's
cute.
cute, although for an Indonesian, she doesn't speak with much of an Indonesian accent. does
No, she does. I
she?
caught
It's
it.
not that straight. It's not that pronounced.
Well, I caught it straight away. I could tell at once that she was not Malaysian.
Right, her vocabulary is Indonesian, yes, but her accent not
No,
that
accent
much.
is Indonesian.
Okay.
It's very- they say like berkata. So
Berkata.
No, they say at the end of the A at the end of Yeah.
Okay, right.
And whatever character arcs they tried to do were really forced, and they set up all these things that didn't really go anywhere.
But then again, that's the criticism we would make of most Hollywood movies today. Character arcs are just completely forced these days.
Yeah, but not the better ones. And they had too many characters, so it's like whatever characters they had, they didn't know how to develop properly, so they had too much time.
But there's a lot of action going on.
So they filled in the time with more characters who are also not well developed. Story-wise, I'm not impressed at all.
I think the question I would have for you is, are we meant to care for the characters in an action movie?
Yes, of course you are.
Which action movie characters
Hard.
did we care? Okay, Tom McClane because he's Yippee-ki-yay.
John.
Right, John McClane. You're not supposed to correct me. We're supposed to troll the audience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. Yeah, John McClane is a character in an action movie that we can root for. But what else? Who else?
Almost all the good action movies are Indiana Jones.
Okay.
You can't have a good action movie without a hero that you root for. And like they even stole a line from Die Hard. They had who else do you think can make anybody so angry? But it's totally out of nowhere. I mean, it made sense in Die Hard. It doesn't make sense here. There was no setup for it.
We can, like I said, it's clear that the filmmakers are fans of Die Hard.
And a few other
Action movies.
Yeah, and they just really picked bits and pieces and they just Frankensteined this together. You know?
And hoping that basically the endless montage of action scenes and shootouts would be sufficient to glue it all together. You were supposed not to have noticed.
Oh, and
Why did you notice?
And they keep on shooting their guns, and the bad guys don't notice. They're like a few hundred meters away, and the bad guys like, yeah, oh, they have silencers. But silencers.
No, only the Indonesian operative has a silencer. Everyone else has really bang, bang, bang guns.
But silencers are not really silent.
Yeah.
The gun guys call them suppressors.
Yeah.
Even with one, the gun is still very loud, and especially an assault rifle, the bullet is supersonic. So the bullet itself will make a crack, a supersonic crack. So you can't silence that. Okay, so the good guys are delivering their injured leader to the island, right? So like 90% of the terrorists, about, I don't know, 50, 100 guys,
Are
they go-
all on the beach waiting to to receive their returned leader.
And they leave like 5 guys behind to guard the hostages. So they have to fight their way back.
This guy is obviously not Hans Gruber.
Michael Bay, he did a Benghazi movie. But anyway, there was a rather extended shootout in that movie where these guys are like on the top of a little building with a steel ladder going up. They kind of like reconstructed it here. So they had like a similar shootout with a similar building at the end.
But it makes a lot less sense, tactically.
Yeah, I mean these special forces guys were like standing up and shooting, you know, instead of
so
taking cover.
I think
There was also like a Mexican standoff between the police and the hostages once. The police like held the terrorist bad guy at gunpoint. They held him hostage, and then the second policeman has gun pointed at the terrorist. So they could just have shot the terrorist, but they were saying, no, put down your guns or we'll shoot your leader. And so the terrorist bad guy says, ha 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 ha. No, and he orders his men to turn their guns on the hostages, and the police just fold, you know, they give up like that.
Yeah,
they should just have shot the terrorists in the first place.
Yeah, because he's the terrorist chief after all. But you know, I think it's just to establish a plot point that this terrorist chief somehow has the right language to play mind games with the cop. For me, I think if you're just a casual fan of action movies, you won't know what's going on. You won't know what they're doing wrong. And in fact, there's so much action that you could possibly be fooled that this is a exciting enough action movie to watch.
For me, it's a bit sad because it seems like a wasted opportunity, wasted effort. The whole crew deserved a much better script. I mean the production was good. It just needed a better script. But a quick check on Google shows that it's been doing well in Malaysia. $10 million for the first week. 10 million Malaysian. So that's about maybe 3 million US.
2 million US?
2-3 million US, which for a local movie, it's good.
It's gangbusters. But you know, I think for 2 hours and 15 minutes, it's a little bit too long.
It's not a breakthrough movie, something like The Raid that put Indonesia on the map. This is really for just the local audience. They want to see their own Malaysian action movie. Yeah. It hurts me to say so. I mean, I really wanted it. The trailer looked good. I wanted to.
The trailer looked good, but after about 40 minutes in, I was.
Yeah.
There's something really odd about this movie.
Yeah. So
They're not doing everything right, and the way they're not doing things right is rather glaring if you know how to look for it.
well, one of the things writers are told is that you need to get the audience's confidence. They need to trust you, that you know what you're talking about, because if you lose that trust, that's it, you lost the audience, and they lost me.
Thank you for watching our review. Like, subscribe, and dislike, troll us,
Yeah,
let us know.
See you next time.
Bye bye.